Hey everyone, tonight we're going to dive into the wild, glittering tale of El Dorado, the legendary city of gold that drove explorers to madness and jungles to ruin. Picture this. You're standing at the edge of a dense, steaming Amazon rainforest, the air thick with the hum of insects and the promise of treasure. You probably won't survive this. The jungle doesn't care about your dreams of gold. It's got its own rules, and they're brutal. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you really like what I'm doing here. Drop a comment with your location and local time. I'm curious where you're chasing this myth from tonight. Now, turn down the lights, maybe turn on the fan for some soft background music, and let's get started tonight. You stand on the misty shores of Lake Guatavita, high in the Andes, where the air feels thin and sacred. It's dawn, 1490, and the Muisca people have gathered, their breath visible in the cool mountain air. Before you, a raft drifts across the glassy water, carrying a man their chieftain naked, except for the fine gold dust clinging to his skin like a second sun. Priests chant softly, their voices blending with the rustle of leaves. The chieftain raises his arms, tossing emeralds and golden trinkets into the lake's depths, offerings to the gods who live beneath the surface. You can almost feel the weight of those jewels sinking, the ripples spreading outward like whispers of something eternal. This is no mere ritual. It's the heartbeat of a culture. A moment where wealth becomes devotion. You squint, trying to catch every glint of gold before it vanishes, and you wonder if the gods are watching too. This is where it all begins, the legend of El Dorado. Not a city, not yet, but a man, El Hombre Dorado, the Golden One. The Muisca, a sophisticated people in what's now Colombia, don't worship gold for its shine. To them, it's a conduit to the divine, a way to speak to the spirits of the lake. You're standing in a world where gold isn't currency, it's prayer. The chieftain steps off the raft, his body still shimmering, and the crowd murmurs in awe. You can't help but imagine if your morning commute involved getting dusted in gold and floating on a sacred lake. Beats rush hour, right? But here's the odd detail. The Muisca don't just toss gold into the lake. They also offer tiny clay figures called tunjos, shaped like people or animals, each one a miniature story cast into the water. These aren't random trinkets. They're deliberate, crafted with care, sometimes even buried with the dead. You picture them sinking, piling up over centuries, a hidden museum under the lake's surface. Historians still debate whether the gold was the main offering or just one part of a larger spiritual system. Was it wealth or faith that drove the Muisca to give so much? The ritual ends, and you watch the chieftain return to shore, his gold dust washing away in the water. The crowd disperses, but you linger, staring at the lake. It's quiet now, but you can feel it, the spark of a story that's about to ignite. The Muisca don't know it yet, but this sacred act, this moment of beauty, is about to be misunderstood, twisted, and chased across continents. You take a deep breath, the mountain air sharp in your lungs. The sun climbs higher, and you know what's coming next. The Spanish. They're not here yet, but they will be. And when they hear of this golden man, they won't see a ritual. They'll see a map. You turn away from the lake, your boots crunching on the rocky shore. The Muisca's world feels alive, vibrant, but fragile. You can't shake the feeling that this is the last time it'll look this way, untouched by greed. The gold dust settles in the water, and the legend begins to stir. You're not just witnessing a ceremony. You're at the birth of a myth that will burn for centuries. And trust me, it's going to get messy. Ever wonder what happens when you tell a bunch of treasure-hungry conquistadors about a guy covered in gold? Spoiler, it's not a fairy tale. You grin, thinking of the chaos to come like a reality show, but with swords and malaria. The year is 1536, and word of the Golden Man has already started to spread. You're not surprised. Stories like this don't stay quiet for long. Native traders, eager to appease or mislead the newcomers, whisper to Spanish scouts about a king who bathes in gold. You can almost hear the conquistadors' hearts pounding, their eyes gleaming like the coins they dream of. The Muisca's sacred lake is no longer just a place of worship. It's becoming a beacon, a promise of riches that will pull men across oceans and into jungles. You glance back at Lake Guatavita one last time. The water's still, but the world around it is about to explode. You walk away, the faint echo of chants still in your ears. The Muisca don't know what's coming, but you do. The Golden Man is about to become something bigger, something dangerous. You're already itching to follow the story, to see where it leads. Spoiler alert. It's not going to be pretty, but it's going to be one hell of a ride. Ever try chasing a mirage? Yeah, it's like that, but with more snakes and fewer happy endings. You're sweating through your armor now, standing in the humid chaos of a Spanish encampment in Quito, 1541. The air smells of damp leather and desperation. Around you, conquistadors sharpen swords, their faces gaunt, but eyes burning with a fever that gold promises to cure. You're with Gonzalo Pizarro, brother of the infamous Francisco, who toppled the Inca Empire. Gonzalo's got that same hungry look, but this time it's not for conquest, it's for El Dorado. The Muisca's ritual of the Golden Man has morphed in the Spanish imagination. It's no longer just a chieftain dusted in gold. It's a city, a glittering empire hidden in the jungle's heart. You overhear whispers of ciudades de oro, streets paved with treasure, and you can't help but roll your eyes. These guys have clearly never tried finding a parking spot in a city, let alone one made of gold. The expedition sets out, and you're dragged along over 300 Spanish soldiers, hundreds of native porters, horses, and enough supplies to choke a river. The Andes loom ahead, their peaks sharp against a gray sky. You trudge through mud, the weight of ambition heavier than your pack. Gonzalo's heard rumors of cinnamon forests and golden cities just beyond the mountains, and he's not stopping for anything, not rain, not reason. You smirk, thinking of the last time someone got this excited over a sure thing. Probably bet their life savings on a crypto coin called Golden Nugget Coin, right? But here's the canonical event. This is the Pizarro expedition of 1541, one of the first major quests for El Dorado. It's a disaster in the making, but it's also the moment the myth takes root in the Spanish psyche, driving centuries of obsession. The jungle doesn't care about their dreams, though. You slog through torrential rain, the kind that soaks your soul. Rivers swell, swallowing supplies. Mosquitoes treat you like an all-you-can-eat buffet. The native porters, forced to carry Spanish greed, start slipping away or dying under the weight. You notice an odd detail. The Spanish brought pigs, actual pigs, hoping to eat on the go, but the jungle's so brutal, the pigs are starving too, squealing in the mud like a bad omen. Historians still debate whether Pizarro's men were chasing a real place or just a story twisted by translation. Did the natives deliberately mislead them, pointing to gold in far-off lands to get rid of these armored invaders? You watch a soldier hack at vines, cursing, and you wonder if he even cares about the truth. Gold's a language everyone understands, and these guys are fluent. But the jungle's speaking back louder. Men collapse, feverish, their skin splotched with disease. Supplies vanish. The horses, useless in this green hell, are slaughtered for food. You wince as Gonzalo orders a smaller party to scout ahead, led by Francisco de Orellana. Spoiler: that guy's about to steal the show. The days blur into weeks, and the expedition crumbles. Morale's gone, replaced by paranoia. You overhear soldiers muttering about betrayal, about cursed gold. One guy swears he saw a golden idol in the trees, but you're pretty sure it was just a monkey. Gotta love jungle hallucinations, right? Gonzalo's face hardens with every setback, but he pushes on, driven by a vision that's starting to feel like a curse. You're exhausted just watching him. The porters, the real backbone of this mess, are dying faster now. Malnutrition, exhaustion, despair. You catch one carving a small wooden figure, maybe a prayer, to his own gods, before he slips into the jungle, never to return. By the time Gonzalo turns back, the expedition's a skeleton of its former self. You're back in Quito, surrounded by survivors who look more dead than alive. They've found no gold, no city, just a jungle that chewed them up and spat them out. You kick a stone, thinking about how this whole thing started with a sacred ritual, now twisted into a death march. The Muisca's golden man is long gone, but his shadow's growing larger, stretching across maps and minds. You hear a soldier mutter about El Dorado, his voice half broken, half hopeful. You shake your head, dude. It's not on Google Maps. Let it go. But it's too late. The failure only fuels the myth. Stories of Pizarro's quest spread, carried by survivors and scribbled in letters back to Spain. You can feel it in the air. El Dorado's no longer just a man or a place. It's an idea, a fever, and it's spreading faster than smallpox. You glance at the horizon, where the Andes meet the jungle. Somewhere out there, Orellana's still drifting down a river, about to stumble into his own chapter of this madness. You're already itching to follow him, to see how much worse this can get. Ever chase a dream so hard it nearly kills you? These guys did, and they're just getting started. You're clinging to a rickety brigantine, the wood creaking as it drifts down a river so wide it feels like an ocean. It's 1,541, and you're with Francisco de Orellana, the accidental explorer who broke off from Gonzalo Pizarro's doomed El Dorado expedition. The Amazon stretches around you, its muddy waters swirling, its banks choked with green so dense it seems to breathe. Your clothes are soaked, your stomach's growling, and the air hums with insects that bite like they've got a personal grudge. Orellana's men, a ragged crew of maybe 50, look half dead, their eyes hollow, but still scanning the shore for gold. You can't help but chuckle. Gold? In this swamp? Good luck, guys. It's like expecting to find a Starbucks in the middle of nowhere. This is the canonical event, Orellana's journey down the Amazon, the first European navigation of the world's greatest river. It's not just a detour, it's a turning point that will rewrite maps and amplify the El Dorado myth. Pizarro sent Orellana to scout for food, but the river's current was too strong to turn back. So here you are, floating deeper into the unknown, no GPS, no plan, just a boat and a dream. The jungle's alive, whispering threats. Snakes slither in the underbrush. Jaguars scream at night. You spot a fish the size of a dog and wonder if it's lunch or if you're lunch. Ever get that feeling you're in over your head? Yeah, these guys live there now. The odd detail catches you off guard. Orellana's men claim they've seen women warriors, fierce and organized, fighting from the riverbanks. They call them Amazons, like the mythical Greek warriors, and the name sticks. You squint through the mist, half expecting to see Wonder Woman, but it's just shadows and imagination. Historians still debate whether these were real warrior women or just men, misinterpreting what they saw, maybe indigenous fighters with long hair, or a tribe where women fought alongside men. Either way, the story's too good not to spread, and it's about to make El Dorado sound even wilder. You lean against the boat's edge, watching the water churn. Orellana's not like Pizarro. He's quieter, more curious. He's not just chasing gold, he's noting everything. The villages, the canoes, the people. You pass settlements with wooden palisades, fields of manioc, and pottery so fine it could sit in a museum. These aren't the savages the Spanish expected. They're organized, thriving. You overhear Orellana dictating notes to a scribe, describing great cities and mighty lords. You smirk. Dude's got a flair for the dramatic, but he's not wrong. The Amazon's not empty. It's alive with cultures that don't need gold to shine. Too bad Europe won't believe him for centuries. The days stretch into months. The river keeps pulling you east, toward the Atlantic. You're starving now, boiling roots that taste like dirt. One guy tries to eat a lizard, and you're like, bold move, but I'll pass. The crew's muttering about El Dorado, convinced it's just beyond the next bend. You're not so sure. The jungle's playing tricks. Every glint of sunlight looks like gold. Every distant shout sounds like a promise. But there's no city, just more trees, more rivers, more nothing. You catch a soldier carving his name into a tree, like he's leaving a breadcrumb trail for a rescue that'll never come. Spoiler, it won't. By the time you reach the Atlantic, you're a ghost of yourself. Orellana's men are skeletons, but they've done something impossible. They've crossed a continent. You stand on the shore, salt air replacing the jungle's damp rot. Orellana's already spinning tales of grand cities and warrior women, stories that'll make him famous back in Spain. You know what's coming. His reports will pour fuel on the El Dorado fire. No gold, no city, but his words will send more men into the jungle, chasing shadows. You laugh softly. Humans are so stubborn, they'll die for a story. Ever text someone who keeps leaving you on read? Same vibe, but with more piranhas. You turn back to look at the river, its mouth vast and unyielding. Orellana's journey wasn't about finding El Dorado. It was about finding something real: civilizations, rivers, truths Europe wasn't ready for. But the myth's growing now, twisting his discoveries into something shinier, more dangerous. You can almost see it. The idea of a golden city floating just out of reach, pulling more dreamers into the green abyss. You shake your head, wiping sweat from your brow. The Amazon's got secrets, but they're not made of gold. You're ready to move on, to see how this fever spreads next. The jungle's laughing behind you, and you know it's not done yet. You're standing on the muddy edge of Lake Guatavita, 1,537. The Andes air sharp and cold against your skin. The water before you is still, a perfect mirror for the clouds above, but it hides something centuries of Muisca offerings, gold and emeralds sunk in sacred rituals. The Spanish are here now, their armor clanking, their eyes wild with greed. You watch Gonzalo Jimenez de Quesada, a conquistador with a lawyer's cunning, pacing the shore. He's heard the stories of the Golden Man, but he's not buying the spiritual angle. To him, This lake's a vault, and he's got the key, or so he thinks. You smirk, picturing him trying to drain this lake with a bucket. Good luck, buddy. Mother Nature's got a better poker face than you. This is the canonical event. Quesada's 1536-37 expedition to Lake Guatavita, the first major attempt to plunder the Muisca's sacred site. It's a pivotal moment, tying the El Dorado myth directly to this crater lake and cementing its place as the legend's heart. The Spanish have already conquered the Muisca, their villages looted, their leaders broken. Now, Quesada's men fish at the lake's edge, pulling up a few golden trinkets tunjos, those tiny clay figures you saw in the ritual, some studded with emeralds. You pick one up, its delicate form no bigger than your thumb, and marvel at its craftsmanship. Odd detail, these tunjos aren't just treasure, they're prayers, shaped like frogs or warriors, meant to carry messages to the gods. The Spanish don't care they see gold, not gods. The lake's a tease, though. Those trinkets are enough to make Quesada's men salivate, but the real haul's deeper, in the silt where no net can reach. You watch them try, dragging ropes and baskets through the water, cursing in Spanish as they come up empty. Quesada's got a bigger plan, drain the whole damn lake. You raise an eyebrow, thinking of the last time someone tried to hack nature. Probably thought they could outsmart a thunderstorm with an umbrella, right? Historians still debate whether Quesada believed the lake held a city's worth of gold or just enough to fund his next campaign. Was it chasing El Dorado, or just a quick payday? The draining attempt is a mess. Quesada's men dig a channel into the mountainside, hacking at the earth with picks and shovels. Native laborers, forced to work, sweat alongside them, their faces blank, but eyes sharp with resentment. You wince as the lake's level drops, revealing mud and roots, but no golden city. A few more trinkets, surface rings, a breastplate, but the big score stays hidden. The channel collapses, killing workers and burying hope. You smell the damp earth, mixed with blood and frustration. Quesada's face is stone, but you can tell he's rattled. He's not getting his treasure, and the lake's laughing at him. You wander the shore, kicking pebbles into the water. The Muisca watch from a distance, silent, their sacred lake violated. You wonder what they're thinking, probably cursing these invaders in a language the Spanish can't understand. The lake's still beautiful, its surface catching the sunset like a sheet of fire, but it's not giving up its secrets. You grin, imagining the gods below, hoarding their gold like cosmic misers. Ever try digging for something you know you'll never find? Like searching your couch for that missing remote, only to realize it's in the fridge? That's Quesada right now, only with higher stakes and worse odds. The failure doesn't kill the myth, it makes it stronger. Word spreads. Lake Guatavita's got gold, but it's cursed, or maybe just too deep. You hear soldiers muttering about El Dorado, their voices low, like they're scared to say it too loud. They're already planning the next try, because that's what greed does, it doesn't quit. You glance back at the lake, its calm surface mocking the chaos around it. In 1580, another guy, Antonio de Sepulveda, will try draining it again, with even worse results, more deaths, more mud, no gold. You shake your head. Humans are stubborn, aren't they? They'll break their backs for a story. You turn away, the wind carrying the scent of pine and failure. The lake's still there, unyielding, a reminder that not every treasure wants to be found. But the Spanish don't get it. They're already dreaming of the next expedition, the next map, the next golden lie. You can feel the myth growing, wrapping itself around this lake like a vine. El Dorado's not just a place anymore. It's a trap, and the Spanish are walking right into it. You're ready to move on, to see who else falls for this glittering bait. The jungle's waiting, and it's got teeth. You're sailing across the Atlantic now, the salty wind whipping your face as you stand on the deck of Sir Walter Raleigh's ship in 1595. The new world's ahead, Guyana's jungles calling with whispers of El Dorado. Raleigh's not like the Spanish conquistadors you've seen, grubby, desperate men swinging swords. He's a poet, a courtier, all charm and swagger, his beard trimmed sharp enough to cut glass. His eyes glint with ambition, but there's a theatrical edge to him, like he's starring in his own epic. You lean against the ship's rail, watching him charm his crew with tales of a golden city. You smirk dudes basically pitching a Renaissance TED Talk, and everyone's buying it. Ever meet someone who could sell you a dream you know is fake? That's Raleigh. This is the canonical event. Raleigh's 1,595 expedition to Guyana. One of the most famous El Dorado quests, driven by English ambition to rival Spain's New World dominance. He's read the Spanish accounts, Orellana's stories of Amazonian cities, Quesada's Lake of Gold, and he's convinced the real El Dorado lies in the Orinoco River basin. Queen Elizabeth's backing him, her favor a lifeline for his shaky court status. You feel the ship pitch, the crew's excitement buzzing like static. They're not just chasing gold, they're chasing glory, a chance to stick it to Spain. You glance at the horizon, wondering if Raleigh knows he's sailing into a myth. The jungle greets you like a punch, humid, dense, alive with noises that make your skin crawl. You trek through Guyana's interior, vines snagging your boots, Raleigh leading with a map that's more hope than fact. He's heard tales of Manoa, a golden city ruled by a king who rivals the Inca. You roll your eyes. Sounds like someone's been binge-reading conquistador fan fiction. But Raleigh's men eat it up, hacking through underbrush, their faces lit with feverish belief. The odd detail sticks out. Raleigh claims to have seen golden rocks sparkling in the riverbeds, but you're pretty sure it's just mica, fool's gold winking in the sun. Historians still debate whether Raleigh truly believed in El Dorado or was just spinning a story to keep his investors happy. The days grind on, and the jungle's no kinder than it was to Pizarro. Rain soaks everything, turning your clothes to mush. You swat at mosquitoes, muttering about how nobody warned you about the bugs. One guy gets bitten by something and screams like he's auditioning for a horror flick classic jungle drama. Raleigh's charm holds the crew together, but you see cracks. Supplies dwindle. The natives you meet are wary, offering vague stories of gold further on. You catch one of them smirking, like he's sending you on a wild goose chase. Smart move, you think. Tell the invaders to keep walking, right into oblivion. Raleigh's big find is a disappointment. No city, no gold, just a few trinkets traded from locals and some shiny rocks he swears are proof. You're not impressed. You've seen better loot at a flea market. But when you get back to England, Raleigh spins it like a pro. His book, The Discovery of the Large, Rich, and Beautiful Empire of Guyana, is a masterpiece of hype vague maps, poetic promises, and just enough detail to keep the dream alive. You grin, imagining him pitching it to publishers. Trust me, it's out there. Buy the sequel. England's hooked, Elizabeth's intrigued, but the truth's murkier. You're not sure if Raleigh's a dreamer or a con man, maybe both. Fast forward to 1617, and you're with Raleigh again, older now, his charm frayed by years in the Tower of London. He's out, but desperate. His son Wat yourself by his side for one last El Dorado shot. You're back in Guyana, the jungle just as brutal, but now it's personal. Raleigh's not just chasing gold, he's chasing redemption. It goes wrong fast. His men attack a Spanish outpost, breaking a fragile peace. Watts killed, and you feel the air leave Raleigh's lungs. You stand silent as he sails home, defeated, knowing what's waiting. King James, furious, orders his execution in 1618. You picture Raleigh's head on the block, still dreaming of gold. Ever chase something so hard it costs you everything? That's Raleigh's story. You're back in England now, the crowd's whispers fading as Raleigh's legend grows. His failure only makes El Dorado shinier, a myth that thrives on broken dreams. You look out at the gray sea, thinking of those golden rocks that weren't gold at all. The jungle's still out there, laughing, keeping its secrets. Raleigh's book is everywhere, sparking new expeditions, new fools. You shake your head. Humans are suckers for a good story, aren't they? The myth's not done with you yet. You're ready to dive back in, to see how deep this fever runs. The jungle's calling, and it's got more traps to spring. You're lost in the Amazon now, the air so thick with humidity, it feels like you're breathing soup. It's the late 16th century, and you're trudging through a green labyrinth where every leaf hides a threat: snakes, spiders, or just the endless drone of insects that make your skin itch like it's staging a rebellion. The jungle's alive, and it doesn't like you. You're not with any one expedition anymore. You're caught in the collective madness of countless men chasing El Dorado. Spanish, Portuguese, Dutch, they're all here. Their boots sinking into mud, their dreams sinking faster. You wipe sweat from your brow and mutter, "This place makes a bad Tinder date look like a vacation." The jungle doesn't laugh, but you swear it's smirking. This is the canonical event. The relentless wave of expeditions from the 1,542nd to the 1,602nd, where the Amazon itself becomes El Dorado's fiercest guardian. No single explorer defines this moment. It's the jungle's turn to shine, swallowing men whole, turning hope into hallucination. You follow a ragtag group of Spaniards, their armor rusted, their faces gaunt. They're chasing rumors of a golden city just beyond the next ridge. A phrase you've heard so many times. It's basically the jungle's tagline. The leader, some minor noble with a name you can't pronounce, clutches a map that's more doodle than geography. You glance at it, yep, pure fiction, like a kid's treasure map drawn in crayon. The odd detail hits you like a stray vine. Some of these men are eating their own boots, boiling the leather into a grim stew to survive. You gag, thinking of the last time you tried a creative meal. Microwave leftovers don't compare to shoe soup, do they? Starvation's only half the problem. Disease creeps and malaria, dysentery, fevers that make men rave about golden palaces before they collapse. The natives, when you meet them, are ghosts in the trees, sometimes trading food, sometimes firing arrows. You don't blame them. These invaders aren't exactly great house guests. Historians still debate whether the jungle's hostility was nature's doing or a deliberate defense by indigenous tribes who knew how to use the terrain like a weapon. You stumble over roots, the air heavy with the scent of rot and rain. The men around you are unraveling. One swears he saw a golden idol in a clearing, but when you get there, it's just a twisted tree stump. Another starts carving crosses into bark, praying for salvation. You're like, buddy, pray for a sandwich. The jungle's a psychological maze. Every sound's a promise, every shadow a trap. You hear stories of men turning on each other, fighting over the last scraps of food or imagined slights. Some vanish, swallowed by rivers or their own madness. You spot a rusted sword half buried in the mud, its owner long gone. The jungle doesn't bury its dead, it eats them. The expeditions keep coming, though. You hear about Diego de Ordaz, who sailed up the Orinoco in 1531 and came back with nothing but fever. Then there's Lope de Aguirre, a madman who declared himself Prince of Freedom in 1561, only to be betrayed and killed by his own men. You shake your head, guy. Sounds like he'd start a cult on X and get canceled in a week. Each failure feeds the myth, makes it hungrier. The jungle's not just a place, it's a character, a green beast that chews up ambition and spits out bones. You trip over a vine and curse, wondering why anyone keeps coming back. It's not about gold anymore. It's about proving something, even if it kills them. You pause by a river, its surface rippling like liquid glass. A soldier kneels, splashing water on his face, muttering about a city he'll never find. You want to tell him to go home, but you know he won't listen. The myth's got its hooks in him, just like it did Pizarro, Orellana, Raleigh. You smell smoke, someone's trying to cook a fish they caught, but it's half rotten. Ever bite into something and instantly regret it? These guys are living that vibe 24/7. The jungle's winning, and it's not even trying. You turn away, the drone of insects filling your ears. El Dorado's not here. It never was. But the jungle doesn't care. It's got its own treasures, rivers that stretch forever, tribes that know this land better than any map, secrets no outsider will ever crack. You're ready to move on, to see how this myth twists next, how it pulls more fools into its grip. The jungle's still watching, and it's got plenty more to say. You take one last look at the river, its current pulling you toward the next chapter of this endless chase. You're deep in the Amazon's green heart now. The air so thick, it feels like you're wading through it. It's the late 16th century, and the jungle's a graveyard of dreams, littered with the ghosts of explorers who came chasing El Dorado. You're not following one expedition anymore. You're caught in the myth's shifting tide. The Golden City isn't just a place now, it's a shapeshifter, a kingdom, a lake, a cave, whatever men need it to be. You trudge through mud, vines snagging your boots, and hear whispers of El Dorado from every direction, like the jungle itself is chanting it. You smirk, sounds like the world's worst GPS, always recalculating to nowhere. Ever chase a Wi-Fi signal that keeps dropping? Same energy, but with more leeches. This is the canonical event, the transformation of El Dorado from a single city into a sprawling, undefined dream during the late 1500s. No longer tied to Lake Guatavita or Orellana's river, it's become a floating promise, adapting to every explorer's hope and desperation. You're with a mixed crew, Spaniards, Portuguese, a few Dutch stragglers, all chasing their own version of the myth. One guy swears it's a golden empire in the Andes. Another's sure it's hidden in a cave guarded by jaguars. You roll your eyes, thinking of how this sounds like a bad D&D campaign. Roll for sanity. Boys, you're not passing. The odd detail catches you by surprise. Some natives, when pressed about El Dorado, point to a specific plant, a thorny shrub they call the Devil's Vine. They say it guards the gold, its spines laced with a poison that burns for days. You steer clear, not keen on testing that theory. Historians still debate whether these stories were deliberate misdirection or genuine beliefs? Did the natives invent tales to send invaders deeper into the jungle, or did they too believe in a sacred place of wealth? You watch a Spaniard hack at the vine, cursing as his hand swells. Yeah, maybe listen to the locals next time, pal. The jungle's relentless. You're soaked, your boots squelching with every step. The men around you are fraying some prey. Others fight over a moldy chunk of bread. You spot a soldier carving a map into a tree, convinced he's close to the prize. You want to tell him it's not real, but the fever in his eyes stops you. The myth's got claws. You pass abandoned camps, rusted swords half buried in mud, and wonder how many have died here, chasing a story. One guy starts singing a hymn, his voice cracking like he's auditioning for the jungle's saddest karaoke night. Ever belt out a song to keep your spirits up, only to realize you're just yelling at the void? That's the vibe here. The myth's evolution is its strength. You hear tales of El Dorado moving. Now it's a mountain fortress, now a hidden valley. Every failure spawns a new version, like a hydra growing heads. The Spanish talk of Manoa, a city by a salt lake. The Portuguese whisper of a golden king in Brazil's interior. You're like, pick a lane, guys. But that's the point. El Dorado's not a place. It's a mirror, reflecting what each man wants most. For some, it's gold. For others, glory. For a few, it's just a reason to keep walking. You kick a stone, watching it sink into a puddle. The jungle's laughing, and you're starting to get why. You pause by a river, its surface glinting like a false promise. A Portuguese soldier kneels, scooping water, muttering about a golden city just downstream. You've heard it before. Orellana's men said the same thing. You smell smoke from a dying campfire, the scent mixing with damp earth and despair. The men are starving, but they won't turn back. You shake your head. Humans are weird, aren't they? They'll die for a fairy tale. The myth's not just surviving, it's thriving, feeding on failure. You glance at the horizon, where the jungle stretches endless and unforgiving. Somewhere out there, another fool's dreaming of gold. You're ready to move on, to see how this myth spreads beyond the jungle, onto maps and into minds across the ocean. The air's heavy with the weight of lost lives, but the story's light, untouchable, floating above it all. You take a step, your foot sinking into mud, and grin. El Dorado's not here, but it's everywhere else on paper, in whispers, in the next guy's fevered dreams. The jungle's still watching, its vines curling like a trap waiting to spring. Let's see who falls for it next. You're hunched over a creaking wooden table in a dimly lit European tavern. 1,590. The air thick with pipe smoke and the tang of stale ale. Before you lies a parchment map, its edges curling like it's got secrets to keep. The map maker, a wiry man with ink-stained fingers, points to a spot labeled El Dorado in bold, fanciful script, nestled somewhere in South America's uncharted heart. You squint at the rivers and mountains, drawn with more imagination than accuracy, and smirk looks like someone's been doodling their way to riches. This map's less a guide and more a sales pitch, but the men around you are eating it up, their eyes gleaming like they've already got gold in their pockets. Ever buy a sketchy treasure map off eBay? Yeah, this is that vibe, but with worse consequences. This is the canonical event, the proliferation of El Dorado maps in the late 16th and early 17th centuries, where cartographers, fueled by rumors and ambition, turned a myth into geography. These maps aren't just paper, they're propaganda, sparking expeditions, justifying conquest, and keeping the dream alive across Europe. You trace a finger along a river that doesn't exist, labeled Rio Dorado. The mapmaker claims it leads straight to the Golden City, but you're not buying it. The tavern's buzzing with merchants and mercenaries, all ready to bet their lives on these squiggles. You lean back, sipping something that tastes like regret, and wonder how many will die for this art project. The odd detail jumps out. Some maps show El Dorado guarded by mythical creatures, winged serpents, giants, even a multi-headed beast straight out of a nightmare. You chuckle, picturing a dragon hoarding gold like a grumpy landlord. Historians still debate whether these fantastical additions were meant to warn explorers or just to sell more maps. Did cartographers believe the stories, or were they just savvy marketers? Either way, these parchments are everywhere, copied, embellished, passed from royal courts to grubby hands in ports like Seville and London. You watch a sailor trade his last coin for a map, and you're like, buddy, you just bought a one-way ticket to Nowhereville. The maps are more than decoration, they're weapons. Monarchs fund expeditions based on them, claiming lands they've never seen. You hear whispers of Spain and England racing to stake out El Dorado before the other can. The maps don't need to be accurate, they just need to inspire. You smell the wax sealing a fresh map, its ink still wet, and feel the weight of its lies. Each one's a promise. Gold, glory, a legacy. But you've seen the jungle those rivers twist. Those mountains hide traps. You grin, thinking of the last time someone trusted a map app and ended up in a lake. Same energy, just with more scurvy. Outside, the cobblestone streets hum with talk of the new world. You overhear a poet spinning El Dorado into a ballad, his words painting a city of sunlit spires. The crowd loves it, tossing coins like they're already rich. You shake your head. Humans are suckers for a good story, aren't they? These maps aren't just guiding explorers, they're shaping empires. Every line drawn is a claim, every blank space an invitation to die trying. You spot a young adventurer studying his map like it's scripture, his face all hope and no sense. You want to tell him to go home, but you know he won't. The myth's got him now. You step into the chilly night, the tavern's warmth fading behind you. The stars above feel distant, like they're mocking the maps below. You think of the jungle, its vines and rivers swallowing men sent by these parchments. The maps keep coming, someplace El Dorado, near Lake Guatavita, others in the Orinoco, a few in Brazil's wilds. None agree, but that's the point. The less certain the location, the more room for dreams. You kick a pebble down the street, its clatter echoing in the quiet. El Dorado's not on any map, but it's everywhere in ink, in mines, in graves. You're ready to follow the myth further, to see who else it lures into the abyss. The jungle's waiting, and it's got more stories to tell. You're trudging through the steamy jungles of what's now Venezuela, 1541, your boots sinking into mud that smells like decay and broken dreams. The air's so thick you're practically drinking it, and the insects are treating you like an all-you-can-eat buffet. You're with Philip von Houten, a German adventurer, his face weathered but eyes burning with the same El Dorado fever you've seen before. He's not Spanish, not Portuguese, but he's caught the bug just the same, bankrolled by the Welser family, German bankers who think they can outdo the Spanish at their own game. You smirk, watching him study a map that's more guesswork than geography. This guy's chasing a PowerPoint presentation in the jungle. Good luck, pal. This is the canonical event. Philip von Hutten's 1540, 1 to 1546 expedition, one of the lesser-known but brutal quests for El Dorado, driven by German ambition to carve a slice of the New World's wealth. Huttons, leading a mixed crew, German mercenaries, Spanish stragglers, and native porters, who look like they'd rather be anywhere else. The goal's the same: find the Golden City, get rich, go home a hero. You hack through vines, dodging thorns, and wonder if Hutton knows he's just another verse in this endless song. Ever sign up for a group project where everyone's delusional? That's this expedition, but with swords and dysentery. The odd detail catches you off guard. Hutton's men are obsessed with a local legend about a white king who rules a golden city, his skin pale as milk. You raise an eyebrow, sounds like they're chasing a European fairy tale in the jungle, maybe mistaking an albino chief for a myth. Historians still debate whether this white king was a real figure, a misunderstanding of indigenous stories, or just Hutton's men projecting their own fantasies onto the landscape. You watch a German soldier scribble notes about the rumor, his hands shaking from fever. You're like, dude, you're not finding King Arthur out here. The jungle's as merciless as ever. You hear the constant buzz of mosquitoes, the distant growl of something big jaguar, maybe? The men are starving, their rations long gone. They're boiling roots that taste like dirt and regret. One guy tries to catch a fish with his bare hands and ends up with a leech instead. You wince, thinking of the last time you tried a quick fix and made things worse, like putting hot sauce on a bad burrito. The natives they meet are cagey, offering vague directions to gold further on, their eyes glinting with what you're pretty sure is amusement. You don't blame them. These invaders are basically begging to get lost. Hutton's stubborn, though. He pushes deeper, convinced El Dorado's just past the next river. You follow, your legs aching, the air heavy with the scent of rot. The men start to crack arguments, flare. Swords get drawn over nothing. You overhear a German muttering about betrayal, convinced the Spanish guides are leading them in circles. He's not wrong. The Spanish don't trust these foreigners. You spot a porter slipping away into the jungle, probably smarter than anyone here. The expedition's unraveling, and Hutton's too deep in the myth to see it. You shake your head, ever keep chasing a goal long after it's gone sour? That's Hutton, marching to his doom. It ends badly, of course. In 1546, after years of wandering, Hutton's betrayed by his own allies, Spanish rivals who want the glory for themselves. You're there when they ambush him, swords flashing in the dim light. Hutton's killed, his dreams of gold spilling into the mud with his blood. You stand silent, the jungle swallowing the chaos like it's just another day. The survivors limp back, empty-handed, their stories of failure only adding to El Dorado's shine. You grin bitterly. Nothing sells a myth like a body count, right? The Welser's gamble fails, but the dream doesn't die. It just waits for the next fool. You turn away, the jungle's hum filling your ears. The vines seem to close behind you, erasing Hutton's path. El Dorado's still out there, not a place but a promise, luring more men to their graves. You smell smoke from a distant campfire, hear the faint wail of a soldier who's lost his mind. The myth's growing, fed by blood and ambition. You're ready to move on, to see how it twists next, pulling new players into its game. The jungle's patient, and it's got all the time in the world. You're walking through a quiet mission settlement in the Amazon, 1650, the air heavy with the scent of incense and damp earth. The jungle's still here, buzzing with life, but now you're with Jesuit missionaries, their black robes stark against the green. They're not chasing gold, at least not the kind you can hold. They're after souls, spreading the Catholic faith among indigenous tribes. But you catch them whispering about El Dorado, their eyes glinting with the same fever you've seen in conquistadors. You smirk, leaning against a wooden cross planted in the dirt. These guys are supposed to be holy, but they're still human. Gold's got a way of sneaking into even the purest hearts. Ever swear you're above something, only to get sucked in? Like promising you won't binge that new show? Then boom, it's 3 a.m.? This is the canonical event. The Jesuit involvement in the El Dorado myth during the 17th century, where missionaries, while evangelizing, get tangled in the same golden dream they're supposed to reject. You're in a mission along the Orinoco River, watching priests like Father Acuna scribble notes about native stories, tales of a golden city called Manoa, ruled by a king who bathes in light. They're here to save souls, but you can tell they're curious, maybe even tempted. Their journals mix sermons with rumors of gold, like they're trying to baptize the myth itself. You flip through one, its pages brittle, and shake your head. Nothing says missionary zeal, like a side quest for treasure. The odd detail stands out. The Jesuits report seeing golden ornaments in native villages, not crude trinkets, but finely crafted pieces, masks, pendants, even a tiny frog with emerald eyes. You hold one, its weight surprising, and wonder if it's from the Muisca or somewhere deeper in the jungle. Historians still debate whether these artifacts were proof of a rich civilization or just trade goods, exaggerated by priests eager to impress their superiors in Europe. The natives, wary but polite, tell the Jesuits about a shining place far away. You catch their sly glances, like they're playing a game the priests don't understand. Smart move, keep the outsiders guessing. The jungle hasn't changed. You hear the same drone of insects, the same rustle of leaves hiding who knows what. The Jesuits build their missions, wooden churches rising from the mud, but the jungle's watching, unimpressed. You see a priest teaching a native child to pray, but later he's quizzing the elders about gold. You grin, multitasking. Huh? The natives offer vague directions, pointing to rivers that twist into nowhere. You're pretty sure they're sending the Jesuits on a wild goose chase, just like they did with the Spanish. The priests don't notice, too busy dreaming of a city that'll make their mission legendary. Ever get directions that sound legit, but lead to a dead end? That's the vibe here. Life in the mission is tough. You smell cooking fires, manioc and fish, but it's barely enough. The Jesuits are gaunt, their faith tested by fever and hunger. One collapses, muttering about a vision of a golden city. You're like, buddy, that's just malaria talking. But the myth's got its hooks in them. They write letters back to Europe, blending spiritual reports with hints of El Dorado, hoping to secure more funding. You can almost hear the Vatican accountants sighing another expedition disguised as a sermon. The jungle doesn't care about their motives. It's swallowing their dreams just like it did the conquistadors. You wander to the river's edge, the water reflecting a sky that feels too big. A Jesuit kneels nearby, praying, but his journal's open to a sketch of a golden lake. You shake your head. Humans can't resist, can they? Even these men of God are chasing the same mirage. The natives watch from the shadows, their faces unreadable. You wonder what they think of these robed men, so sure they're bringing salvation while chasing a myth. The El Dorado fever's spreading, not just through soldiers, but through priests, turning their mission into a treasure hunt. You smell the river's muddy tang, hear the distant call of a macaw. The myth's alive, shifting again, ready to lure the next dreamer. You turn away, ready to follow the story forward, to see how it escapes the jungle and lives on in new forms. The mission's cross looms behind you, but it's the golden dream that casts the longer shadow. The jungle's still here, patient, waiting for the next fool to step into its trap. Let's see who it catches next. You're in the early 20th century now. The Amazon's still a green beast, but the tools have changed. You're with Percy Fawcett, a British explorer with a mustache sharp enough to cut through the jungle itself. It's 1925, and you're hacking through vines in Brazil's Mato Grosso, the air thick with heat and the ghosts of old El Dorado quests. Fawcett's not chasing gold, at least. Not exactly. He's after Z, a lost city he's convinced is hidden in the jungle, a place of ancient splendor that echoes the El Dorado myth. You wipe sweat from your brow, dodging a spider the size of your hand, and mutter, "This guy's basically Indiana Jones, but with worse Wi-Fi." The jungle's laughing, and you're starting to think it's got a sick sense of humor. This is the canonical event. Percy Fawcett's 1925 expedition, a modern echo of the El Dorado obsession, where a new century's explorer chases a myth reborn as a lost civilization. Fawcett's no conquistador. He's a surveyor, a scientist, armed with a compass, a rifle, and a stubborn belief in Z. He's read the old Spanish accounts, Orellana's cities, Raleigh's dreams, and he's sure the jungle hides something real. You're with him, his son Jack, and a small crew carrying packs that feel heavier with every step. The goal's not gold, but glory, proof that the Amazon cradled a civilization as grand as Egypt's. You smirk, thinking of the last time someone chased a big idea, probably pitched a startup called Jungle Uber, and went bankrupt. The odd detail catches you. Fawcett's obsessed with strange pottery shards he's found, etched with geometric patterns, unlike anything local tribes make. You pick one up, its edges worn but precise, and wonder if it's a clue or just trash from a long-dead picnic. Historians still debate whether these artifacts hinted at a sophisticated culture or were just trade goods, misread by an overeager explorer. Fawcett's convinced they're proof of Z, but you're not so sure. The jungle's full of tricks. Every broken pot looks like a relic when you're desperate. You watch him sketch the shard, his hands steady, despite the fever creeping into his eyes. The jungle's as brutal as ever. You hear the screech of monkeys, the buzz of insects that treat you like a buffet. Your boots sink into mud, and you're pretty sure something just slithered over your foot. Fawcett's men are tough, but the jungle's tougher. Food's scarce yesterday's meal was a fish that tasted like regret. You grin, remembering the time you tried to taste the rainbow with expired yogurt. These guys are living that vibe, only with malaria on the side. The local tribes are wary, some friendly, some not. One elder tells Fawcett about a city beyond the mountains, his voice calm, but eyes sharp. You're like, "Nice try, Grandpa. Same trick the Muisca pulled 400 years ago." Fawcett's different from the old explorers. He respects the tribes, speaks a bit of their language, but he's still got that El Dorado gleam in his eye. You see him poring over maps at night, his lantern casting shadows that look like ghosts. He talks about Z like it's a lover he's destined to find. Jack, his son, nods along, but you catch the worry in his face. The jungle's closing in, rivers flood, fevers spike, and the crew's starting to fray. One guy mutters about turning back, but Fawcett shuts him down. You shake your head. Ever keep going on a bad date because you're already invested? That's Fawcett, except the date's a jungle, and it's got teeth. Then, silence. Fawcett, Jack, and their crew vanish. No trace, no clues, just the jungle swallowing them whole. You're left standing in the green, the air heavy with unanswered questions. Some say they were killed by a tribe. Others think they starved or chose to stay, absorbed into the forest's secrets. You smell the damp earth, hear the distant wail of a bird. The mystery only fuels the myth. Back in England, newspapers go wild. Fawcett's Z becomes the new El Dorado, a lost city for a modern age. You grin bitterly. Humans love a good disappearance, don't they? Like a cliffhanger that never resolves. You turn away, the jungle's hum filling your ears. Fawcett's gone, but his story's not. It's another layer on the El Dorado legend, proof that the dream doesn't die, it just changes clothes. You're ready to move forward, to see how this myth keeps reinventing itself, pulling new dreamers into its orbit. The jungle's still here, patient, waiting for the next fool to step into its trap. Let's see what it unearths next. You're standing in a clearing in the Amazon, 2005. The jungle humming around you like it's got secrets it's dying to keep. The air's thick, smelling of wet leaves and earth. But now there's a new sound drones buzzing overhead. Scientists with GPS units crunching through the underbrush. You're not with conquistadors or missionaries anymore. You're with archaeologists, their faces lit with the glow of laptops and satellite imagery. They're not chasing El Dorado's gold, but they're chasing its truth, unearthing clues that the jungle's hidden for centuries. You lean against a tree, watching a researcher brush dirt off a pottery shard, and smirk finally. Someone's looking for answers instead of a paycheck. Ever dig through your couch for loose change and find something way cooler? That's the vibe here, but with higher stakes. This is the canonical event. The archaeological discoveries of the early 21st century, where satellite scans and ground surveys reveal ancient Amazonian civilizations, suggesting El Dorado wasn't pure fiction, but a distorted memory of real cultures. You're in Bolivia's Llanos de Moxos, where scientists have found massive earthworks, mounds, canals, raised fields, proof of societies that thrived long before Columbus. You run your hand over a ridge of dark, fertile soil called terra preta, engineered by ancient hands to feed thousands. This isn't a golden city, but it's a game changer, rewriting the story of the Amazon as a cradle of complex societies, not an empty wilderness. The odd detail grabs you. These civilizations built fish weirs, intricate traps woven from reeds to catch river fish, some still visible in satellite images, like ghostly blueprints. You picture ancient fishermen tending them, their lives tied to the river's pulse. Historians still debate whether these societies were the great cities Orellana described, or just vibrant networks mistaken for El Dorado by gold-hungry Europeans. You watch a scientist map a grid of raised fields, her excitement contagious. She's not finding gold, but she's finding proof that the jungle held tens of thousands of people, living in ways the conquistadors couldn't imagine. You wander through the site, dodging roots and researchers. The jungle's still fierce ants bite your ankles, and you're pretty sure a monkey just judged your outfit. You grin, thinking of the last time you got lost in a project and forgot to eat. These scientists are living that, but with better tech. They're using LiDAR now. Lasers piercing the canopy to reveal hidden roads and villages. You see a screen light up with geometric patterns, like the jungle's confessing after centuries of silence. The old explorers would have lost their minds. Pizarro, Raleigh, Fawcett, all chasing a myth when the real treasure was under their feet. But it's not just about ruins. You smell the rich, loamy terra preta, a reminder that these people mastered their environment, turning poor soil into farmland. The Amazon wasn't a barrier to them. It was home. You hear a researcher talk about how European diseases likely wiped out these societies before they could be fully documented, leaving only whispers for men like Orellana to misinterpret. You shake your head. Imagine surviving the jungle just to be undone by a cough. The irony's brutal, like training for a marathon and tripping at the finish line. The discoveries keep coming: Brazil, Peru, Colombia, all revealing similar signs. Moated towns, road networks, ceramics, finer than your grandma's china. You watch a team unearth a clay figure, its face eerily human, and wonder if it's one of those Muisca tunjos, a distant cousin of the golden man's offerings. The jungle's finally talking, but it's not saying gold, it's saying life. Lives lived, lost, and now found again. You feel a pang, thinking of how the conquistadors saw only treasure, not the people who made it. Ever miss the forest for the trees? That's their story, and we're still unraveling it. You step back, the drones hum, fading as the sun dips low. The jungle's still here, guarding its past, but it's starting to share. El Dorado wasn't a city of gold. It was a memory of civilizations that dazzled outsiders before vanishing. You're ready to move on, to see how this myth lives beyond the jungle, in stories and screens and dreams. The researchers pack up, their faces bright with discovery. The jungle watches, quiet now, but you know it's not done. It's got one more tale to tell, and you're ready to hear it. You're sitting in a dimly lit living room, 2025, the glow of a screen casting shadows on the walls. The jungle's far away now, replaced by the hum of a fan and the faint smell of popcorn. You're streaming a documentary about El Dorado, the narrator's voice weaving tales of lost cities and doomed explorers. Outside, the world's buzzing X posts about hidden treasures, movies like The Road to El Dorado, spinning gold into cartoon dreams. You lean back, scrolling through comments on your phone, and smirk. The myth's gone digital, living in pixels and hashtags, still pulling people in like it did 500 years ago. Ever get sucked into a rabbit hole online? Yeah, El Dorado's that, but with a body count. This is the canonical event, the enduring presence of El Dorado in modern culture from the 20th century to today, the 23rd of July, 2025, where it thrives as a symbol of ambition and mystery in films, books, and even archaeological debates. You're not in the jungle anymore, but the myth's everywhere on your screen, in museum exhibits, even in the memes flooding X. You pull up a post claiming El Dorado's been found by some crypto bro with a drone. You laugh, sure buddy, just like you found your keys in the couch. The myth's not a place now, it's a vibe, a shorthand for chasing the impossible. The odd detail pops up. El Dorado's inspired slot machines in Vegas, their screens flashing golden coins and jungle motifs. You picture tourists pumping quarters into a game called El Dorado Quest, the irony as thick as the jungle air. Historians still debate whether the myth's persistence is due to human greed or something deeper, a universal hunger for discovery. You scroll through a thread on X where users argue if El Dorado was real or just colonial propaganda. One post claims it's a metaphor for Bitcoin. You roll your eyes, same old fever, new costume. You think back to how this started the Muisca's Golden Man, a sacred ritual twisted into a city of gold. Now it's in kids' movies, with singing conquistadors and sassy horses. You grin, remembering the road to El Dorado. Not exactly history, but it's got heart. The myths in books too, from Voltaire's Candide, mocking the quest, to serious tomes about Amazonian civilizations. You pull up a clip from an Indiana Jones flick where he's dodging traps for a golden idol. It's not El Dorado, but it might as well be. The myth's fingerprints are all over it. Ever chase a dream that felt straight out of a movie? That's what El Dorado does to people. The real kicker is how it's shaped science. You think of those archaeologists in Bolivia, their LiDAR scans revealing lost cities. The myth pushed them to look where others didn't, turning a fairy tale into hard data. You smell the popcorn, hear the documentary drone on about Fawcett's disappearance, and feel a twinge of awe. El Dorado's not just a story, it's a catalyst, driving people to explore, to dream, to die. You check X again, someone's posted about a new expedition using AI to map the Amazon. You shake your head, text changed, but the obsession's the same. The myth's power lies in its flexibility. It's not tied to a lake or a jungle anymore. It's a symbol of what we chase: wealth, fame, truth. You think of modern El Dorados, Silicon Valley startups, viral fame, that one perfect idea. The jungle's gone, but the trap's still there, luring people to risk everything. You chuckle, imagining a conquistador with a smartphone tweeting, "Found El Dorado, BRB." The comments would roast him alive. The myth's alive because we're still human, still hungry for something just out of reach. You lean forward, the screen flickering. The documentary's showing old maps now, their inked rivers curling like promises. You feel the pull, the same one that got Pizarro, Raleigh, Fawcett. El Dorado's not a place. It's a question. What would you risk for a dream? You're ready to wrap this up, to see how the myth's final chapter lands. The fan hums, the world outside hums louder. The jungle's far away, but its echoes right here, in your living room, in your head, whispering one last time. You're back in the quiet of your living room. 2025. The fan's soft hum, blending with the distant hum of the world outside. The screen's gone dark, but your mind's still buzzing with the weight of El Dorado's story. You're not in the jungle anymore, not dodging vines or swatting mosquitoes, but the myth's still here, woven into the fabric of everything: movies, books, even the way people talk about chasing dreams on X. You sip a lukewarm drink, the taste grounding you as you think about how this golden fever started with a muisca ritual and ended up shaping centuries. You smirk. Imagine telling that chieftain his sacred lake would inspire a Hollywood blockbuster. He'd probably laugh harder than you do at a bad meme. This is the canonical event, the legacy of El Dorado as a metaphor for human ambition, cemented in the 20th and 21st centuries, where it transcends geography to become a universal symbol of pursuit and sacrifice. You're flipping through mental images: Orellana's river, Raleigh's doomed quests, Fawcett's vanishing act, all threads in a tapestry that's still being woven. The myth's not about gold anymore. It's about what makes people tick, what drives them to risk everything for a shimmer on the horizon. You check X on your phone, scrolling past posts about finding your El Dorado in careers or crypto. You chuckle, same old chase, just with better Wi-Fi. The odd detail catches you. El Dorado's name pops up in charity runs, like a 5 Kelvin in California called Race to El Dorado, where runners raise money for conservation. You picture joggers in neon sneakers, chasing a finish line instead of a city, and grin ironic, right? That a myth born from greed now funds saving the jungle. Historians still debate whether El Dorado's enduring grip comes from its promise of wealth or its deeper pull, the human need to believe there's always something more out there. You lean back, the fan's breeze cool on your skin, and think about how the myths outlived every explorer who chased it. You remember the archaeologists, their LiDAR scans, peeling back the jungle's secrets, finding cities where conquistadors saw only trees. That's the real treasure. Not gold, but knowledge, proof of lives lived and lost. You smell the faint scent of rain through an open window, a reminder of the Amazon's endless pulse. The myth drove science forward, pushed people to look where others wouldn't. You think of Fawcett, lost forever, and wonder if he'd be satisfied knowing his Z wasn't a fantasy, just misunderstood. Ever chase something so hard you forgot why you started? That's the El Dorado trap, and we're all still falling for it. The myth's in everything now. You recall the road to El Dorado, its animated heroes bumbling through a golden city, pure fiction, but it's got the vibe right. Hope, hubris, and a touch of chaos. You see it in video games, where players hunt for digital gold, and in TED Talks about finding your inner El Dorado. You laugh softly. Humans are so predictable, turning a 500-year-old lie into a self-help slogan. The myth's not just a story, it's a mirror, showing us our greed, our curiosity, our refusal to quit. You scroll X again, seeing a post about a new Amazon expedition using drones. The comments are wild, half hype, half skepticism, same as it ever was. You stand, stretching, the room quiet, except for the fan's steady hum. El Dorado's not a place you'll ever find on a map, but it's everywhere else in the stories we tell, the risks we take, the dreams we can't let go. You think of the Muisca, their gold sinking into Lake Guatavita, a gift to gods we'll never know. That was the start, but the real stories, what came after, a myth that outlived empires, jungles, and men. You're ready to close this out, to see what the final piece of this puzzle looks like. The world outside feels alive, humming with the same restless energy that drove men into the jungle. One last step, and you're there. You're still in your living room, the world outside hushed under a late night sky, the 23rd of July, 2025. The fan spins lazily, its soft whir like a lullaby, and the glow of your phone casts faint light across the room. You're thinking about El Dorado, how it started as a man dusted in gold and became something bigger, a dream that drove men to madness, jungles to ruin, and scientists to discovery. You lean back, the couch creaking under you, and let the story settle. The myth's not just a tale of gold, it's a map of the human heart, all its hunger and hope laid bare. You smile faintly, ever chase something so hard it changed you, even if you never found it? That's El Dorado, whispering through time. This is the canonical event, the realization that El Dorado's true treasure was never gold, but the journey itself, a truth crystallized in the 21st century as we look back on centuries of pursuit. You're not in the Amazon anymore, but you can still feel its pulse, the rivers, the vines, the lives it swallowed. The myth began with the Muisca, their sacred offerings sinking into Lake Guatavita, and it grew through Pizarro's starvation, Orellana's river, Raleigh's execution, Fawcett's vanishing. Each failure added a layer, like sediment building a mountain. You smell the faint coffee on your breath, grounding you as you think of those archaeologists, their LiDAR scans uncovering cities where conquistadors saw only shadows. The odd detail lingers. Modern treasure hunters still dive into Lake Guatavita using sonar and scuba gear, chasing the same gold Quesada couldn't reach. You picture them surfacing, empty-handed but grinning, hooked on the thrill. Historians still debate Whether El Dorado was a lie born of greed or a memory of real civilizations, distorted by European eyes, you lean forward, elbows on your knees, and feel the weight of it. The Muisca didn't need a golden city. They had their gods, their lakes, their lives. But the world wanted more, and it built a myth to chase. You think of the men who died for it, Hutton, betrayed in the jungle, Fawcett lost with his son, countless others, their names forgotten, but their dreams etched into the story. The jungle didn't give them gold, but it gave them something else, a mirror to their souls. You chuckle softly, ever look for one thing and find something better, like digging for your keys and finding an old love letter? The Amazon gave us rivers, cultures, truths we're still unraveling. Orellana's great cities weren't fiction. They were real, just not golden. You scroll X one last time, seeing a post about a new Amazon dig. The comments hum with excitement. The myth still alive, still pulling. El Dorado's not a place. It's a question. What are you willing to risk for? What's just out of reach? You see it in startups, chasing unicorn status, in artists, hunting the perfect song, in explorers who still scan the jungle with drones. The myth's a reminder. The chase shapes you, whether you find the prize or not. You smell the night air through an open window, cool and sharp, and feel a strange peace. The Muisca's gold is still in that lake. The jungle's cities still whisper under the canopy, and the dreams still hear, in your quiet room, in the stories we tell. You stand, the fans hum, fading as you stretch. El Dorado wasn't found, but it was never lost. It's in the courage to keep going, the curiosity to look deeper, the stubborn spark that makes us human. You're ready to let the story rest, to let its echoes linger. The world outside is still, but it's alive with possibility, with dreams waiting to be chased. You're standing at the edge of the story now, the room soft and quiet, the fan's gentle hum wrapping you like a blanket. The tale of El Dorado fades, its golden light dimming into a warm, quiet glow. You don't need to chase it anymore. You've walked its rivers, felt its jungles, heard its whispers. The Muisca's offerings, the conquistador's fevers, the archaeologist's discoveries, they're all part of you now. A reminder that the real treasure is what you learn along the way. Let the jungle keep its secrets. Let the myth sleep in its cradle of vines. You're safe here, in this moment, where the world feels small and the dreams feel endless. Close your eyes, let the story blur, and rest. The chase is over, but its spark lives on, soft as a whisper, warm as a promise.